Welcome. Today I'm going to be showing off my second account a bit. And I know these types of videos are popular, however, I do understand that just showing my account and talking about it is going to bore some people out. So I'll try to entertain you if I can, and in return, I would like you to leave a comment and tell me about your account, whether it's better or worse. So first off, a little bit of history. This account is almost 2 years old, but I've logged into it only for 387 days, which is just about over a year, right? This is my second account, and the reason I made it was actually two reasons. First off, I wanted to replay the game and have a completely new, fresh view on the game. Secondly, I wanted to challenge myself and see how fast I can actually progress in the game, and first off, reach AR 45, and secondly, clear the abyss. I grinded this account in 3 weeks basically, and I got myself a Zhongli and Ganyu. I reached AR 45 and was 27 starring the abyss, which I thought was very nice. Right now, I think I would never want to repeat this grind again, because over these 3 weeks, I spent about 6 to 7 hours per day, and more than half of that time I was spending just mashing right click in order to skip dialogues. This is utter insanity, because even though I was very looking forward to doing some quests, I just forgot completely how many mandatory fetching quests there are along the way. Does anyone else remember the Ayaka and Yuimiya story quests? Because I do, and as a result, for all this grinding, I got only 2 limited characters, which to this day I don't really like, and I don't use them that much, but I'll get to that later. I burnt out from Genshin and quit the game for a pretty long time. Surprise, surprise, who would have seen that coming? But since I'm AR 58, you might want to guess that I came back. And here's the story. On my main account, the first time I lost my 50-50 was on Raiden's banner, and ended up missing her. So I held a grudge against Raiden for a pretty long time. And since I didn't want anything to do with her on my main account, I decided to just get her on my second account, because why not? Everyone is hyping her up. Maybe she's worth a second try. And after like 50 pulls, I won my 50-50 and got her. And believe it or not, I didn't really play her, and I used her more like a sub DPS, basically only using her E as a form of damage, gave her tenacity, and yeah, that's it. But eventually I gave in. I gave her some stats, tried her out, and fell in love with her. That's why I decided to actually play on this account. Raiden wasn't coming back anytime soon, and my only option was playing Raiden on my second account. And since I really liked the character, I started devoting a lot of time and playing a lot on this account. And this was a pretty good account at that point already. It was 36 starring the abyss, and most of the content was already completed besides some side quests. This was before Sumeru, keep that in mind. There was way less content to do than now. This game literally felt like a 20-minute per day game, so I would just log in, do some quests, events, do domains, and yeah, occasionally I would take breaks for a couple of weeks or so, maybe sometimes even months. And yeah, with all those breaks accumulating, this is why this account only has 387 days of login as of recording of this video. Now, about being free to play, this account used to be free to play, but now I really don't care. I started spending about a year ago. I bought maybe 2-3 Welkins so far, and I also did a top up right now for about 30 bucks. Not a lot, but again, just saying, most of this is definitely achievable with just better luck, because my luck is kind of atrocious on this account. That's why I resorted to spending some money. I won a 50-50 3 times out of 7. While pulling on limited event character banners. So that's less than 50% of my 50-50s won, and I also never got an early, which is, by the way, almost impossible, because the odds of you getting an early are 50%, give it a take. Just keep that in mind. I got several earlies on standard banner, but that really doesn't matter, because come on, standard banner, really? And then for my weapons, I pulled twice on the weapon banner and got scammed both times, and had to use the epitomized pass both times. That's why I have 2 Freedom Sworns and 2 Homas. Now, fun fact about Homa, it is a terrible weapon for my account, because my Xiangling is C0 after 2 years of having this account. She is still C0, and I'm definitely not going to be using her anytime soon. And so that's out the way. Rosaria is useless to me, and Raiden let's just say she has better options. She has Wavebreaker's Fin at R5, which is almost the same damage as Engulfing Lightning, which is saying a lot. And yes, Wavebreaker's Fin at R5 is about 10% better than Homa. And there's no way I'm going to be using a suboptimal weapon on my Raiden, because she deserves only the best. So yeah.
Inazuma shines eternal!
These two Homas are just dead on my account, but I guess Yao Yao is kind of happy. Now, since I'm on the weapon page right now, you can see something strange. The number of claymores I have. It's astonishing. I have an R11 Rain Slasher and an R7 Sack Greatsword, an R5 Bell, and also R4 Chainsaw. And at the same time, I only have one Sack Bow, one Sack Frags, and an R1 Dragon's Bane. And only recently, I'm talking about like 2-3 weeks ago, I got my first Sack Sword. And I still don't have a single Lion's Roar, which I kinda need for Kaching. So yeah, compared to the average player, I'm lacking on a lot of 4-star weapons. That's why I resort to pulling on the weapon banners, even though I was free to play. But somehow I still get unlucky. So yeah, weapon banners are a scam. Nonetheless, kind of proud of my full roll of 5-star weapons on this account. Artifacts, nothing really special here. I have 1500 artifacts. The reason I hoard them is to just one day use them all in one strongbox when I really need it. Fun fact about this account only farmed 3 domains ever. It's the Deepwood domain, Emblem domain, and the Flower of Paradise Lost domain. I tried to really min-max everything when I began this account, and I continue to min-max everything to this day, even though there's clearly no reason to do that. Other items, I have refinement mats for weapons I don't particularly care about. I do have some level up materials I saved up. I use a lot of it though on Nuviet recently, but overall I lack the basic materials on this account because again, this is my second account and I don't care about wasting time farming all of these materials. That's why you will see that I farmed bosses but never used them to ascend my characters. I just CBA farming mobs or mining core lapis. I also have this brilliant diamond gemstone, looks very cool, I like it, and that's why I'm not using it. No one cares about food. Now about billets, I made an R5 Iron Sting, an R5 Hamayumi, and recently I made an R5 Tidal Shadow, which has reflected on the amount of billets I have. Everything else has just been accumulating over the past years. Also, just a note, I don't farm weekly bosses every week, that's why I might have less than you. I do like 1 or 2 bosses per week on average. Crazy, right? It's just because I really don't care about boss materials on this account. Useless gadget page, I don't use the crystal fly trap or the parametric transformer because I find it too stressful to keep track of when I have to use it again next week. I don't really want to deal with that, so I just prefer not using them because again, the materials they give are, for example, the crystal flies, I can farm them in about 15 minutes. I can get like 100, and then for the materials that the parametric transformer gives, it's all super low star materials that I really don't care about. It's not like this is gonna change my account even after like 1 or 2 years of using it. And then quest items, cool book, I like it. Here the only interesting part is the hunting trap and I guess the wander renaming thing. In this account showcase, I will only be showing 5 characters because I don't really think there's any reason to show the characters I haven't spent much time building. I'll show the weapons and constellations just so that you have a better idea of what my characters generally look like. In terms of weapons, all of my characters are currently using their best in slot 5-star weapons or their best in slot 4-star weapons. All of my 5 stars are C0, with one exception being Raiden. My official is unfortunately only C3. Kuki is C2. And Yanfei is C6. As you see, I didn't activate my Gene's C1, C6 Sara, C6 Beidou, C6 Xingqiu, C5 Bennett, and best of all, C2 Chi-Chi, but again, I didn't activate it. Now the characters I'm going to be showing are Ganyu, Alhaitham, Kuki, Raiden, and Yanfei. This is what my Ganyu's artifacts look like. My best feather, and also this isn't her circlet. Nuviet took it for now. while I'm still in the process of farming the new Marshisa set. So yeah, typically it looks more like this, and yeah, I feel it's a pretty good ratio. So EM, lots of attack. Forgot to show my sands. It's honestly very good, but just like most artifacts on her, I crown her charge attack. Obviously, I think she deserves it. Triple crowned, as you can see. Lo-fi. The reason I'm showing him is because his EM is kind of insane and I really like it. And his crit ratio is also very nice. With 116% ER just as a bonus, and at times it really feels very noticeable. Feels much better than 0% ER. Now his artifact stats look something like this, which might not be impressive, but then again, I have a lot of EM in my artifact substats, and EM on Alhaitham is basically the same as crit, and sometimes it's even better than crit. He's on 2-piece, and this is where his ER is coming from. This isn't my best EM sans, but it gives it just enough crit rate so that the build doesn't feel terrible. His goblet isn't the best, but it works, and it's the best I've got. I have good EM goblets, but Alhaitham gains a lot more from Dendro damage bonus, so this is the reason I'm using this one. Now, this circlet, I'm very proud of it. Basically all the stats that Alhaitham needs. Now, there's no particular reason why I want to show off Kuki. Maybe I just like the character and that's it. None of her stats are impressive. 978 elemental mastery, freedom sworn, and Flower of Paradise Lost. By the way, this set allows Kuki to deal up to 37k damage per Hyper Bloom proc, and when there are buffs in domains or in the abyss, she can do upwards to 41 to 42,000 damage per Hyper Bloom proc. That's insane for a C2 4-star character. All I look for in substats are EM and HP percent substats, and as you can see, I have this goblet with 26% HP. Honestly, this might be just one of my best goblets all across my accounts. And then I have this EM onset circlet, which took me about 3 months to farm. I was just getting very unlucky in the Flower of Paradise Lost domain. However, I still got it, and I'm pretty happy I don't ever have to go back to that domain ever again. Kuki's talents are 183, but ultimately, no one cares about Kuki's talents whatsoever.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine.
I have two builds for Raiden. Right here you can see my 50 crit rate, 200 crit damage Raiden build. She's using Wavebreaker's Fin, which is an insane weapon on her, and yes, I've calculated and tested. It is better than Homa and Bows to Catch, and that's why I really like it. Also, it just looks very cool on her. Now, Raiden's artifacts are not actually too insane. I've definitely seen better. Now, I'm going to quickly change the circlet, and voila. Now my Raiden is on her balanced crit rate and crit damage build. 71 160 looks very nice. Now what I really want to change is her feather, and I've been looking for it for way too long now. Like, you can see that none of my plumes on this account are super good. They're all kind of average, and that just makes me sad and hopeful for the future at the same time. Her sands is insane, her goblet is on set, even though it's attack. Remember that I use Raiden mostly in her hyper teams, and she uses Kazuha, Wavebreaker's Fin, and also 4-piece emblem, so attack in this case most of the time wins out over elemental damage bonus, and I guess I'm very lucky to have this goblet. My Raiden is C2 and I really like it. I've never regretted pulling her C2, and by the way, I never used her in her national variants, even at C0, so yeah, for me, Raiden was never a support, but always a carry, more like a hyper carry. And yes, I got her C2 technically free to play, and right now I want to get her C3, but this is just because I really like the character and I don't really recommend it to anyone. And I'm almost certain that I'm gonna go for Raiden C3. Again, this is my second account and I don't really care if I miss out on some of the characters. Now, Raiden's talents are 1, 9, 10. I'm honestly not the type of person that will triple crown a character just because a character deserves it. And yeah, this just goes too far as to say that her basics and her skill are kind of irrelevant and underwhelming for me. Now, Yanfei was my second DPS on this account that I built. I got her C5 when rolling on Zhongli's and Ganyu's banner when I just started out this account, and I just really liked her playstyle. I thought she was pretty strong, and I still use her from time to time. Now, her stats are actually pretty good. This build focuses more on her energy recharge rather than full-on damage. She's using Lost Prayers, 4-piece Wanderer's Troop. The crit stats might not look amazing, but that's just because of the amount of substats that went into her energy recharge, and also she has a lot of attack percent in her substats, which is also pretty nice. So first off, her flower is practically ideal. Her plume is also insane. By the way, EM is very good on Yanfei too because I use her primarily in vape compositions or overload teams. Again, I can always take off my pieces and swap them around. I do have a lot of Wanderer pieces lying around on my account, so that's never a problem. Also, this Sands is not the best, but it's double crit with ER, which is honestly better than average to me. She has an onset goblet with double crit and 11% attack. This is very good because mainly I don't always use Yanfei with Bennett because Bennett is often occupied by Raiden, and that's why attack percent is almost as good as crit in some cases, but again, not every single time, but I still kind of like the attack percent. And yeah, not the best crit damage circlet right now, but it has both attack percent and EM, which I gladly take over anything else. Right now, my Yanfei is C6 and her talents are 10, 10, 10. And yes, I triple crown my Yanfei over C2 Raiden. Now, let's head to the Abyss real quickly. My challenge summary is almost completely 36 star clears, except for that one time when I forgot to do the Abyss and only got 9 stars as a result. I've been 36 starring the Abyss consistently ever since I was AR 54, or maybe right at the beginning of AR 55. That was the goal of this account. I just wanted to see how fast I can actually reach the point where my account will 36 star the Abyss consistently, and of course, to do that as fast as possible, I rolled for the most suboptimal units like Ganyu and Zhongli. I had a C0 Xiangling and I had terrible weapon choices. However, I still proved that it's possible to 36 star the Abyss before AR 55. I managed to do it when there was a lot of people talking about it and saying that the Abyss was getting too hard and almost impossible, and that even veteran players who've been playing since day one are struggling in the Abyss. By the way, just as a note, I've never used the national team on this account, and so I wasn't cheating by using the Xiangling tech, and the only time I actually used Xiangling was when I was trying to do Melt Ganyu, and I can tell you C0 Xiangling for Melt Ganyu is super copium, especially when her Pyronado does about 2k per tick, because again, I never level Xiangling on this account. Now, you can see I do a lot of runs in the Abyss, and that's because I still test out different comps that I can't test out on my main account. And yes, Yanfei has been clearing the Abyss every single rotation for me. I'm really proud of her. I think that a 4-star clearing the Abyss consistently is a good sign for this game. However, I still wouldn't really recommend investing into her for the average player because the amount of resources she took is far more than any 5-star would have taken. Last thing, achievements. My strongest crit strike was 700k damage, and funnily enough, this isn't actually Raiden, because first of all, I didn't get Raiden C2 on her release, only much later, and also, this was even before I got Raiden. This was when I started playing this account actively. It was like my 3rd week of playing this account. I think I did this amount of damage with Ganyu, or maybe a different character, and I think it was a different character, and it was an event, because I looked up, during this time, in February, there was an event that was Lunar's New Year event, so I most likely used some trial character, got insane buffs, and did this damage. Honestly, I don't know, but with my Raiden right now, I can definitely go higher than this. I just don't bother. Her burst typically hits for around 450k, sometimes closer to 500k, and with the crit damage build, it's usually even higher, upwards to up to 600,000 damage. Now yeah, so if I go go into specific domains and fight specific enemies, I can definitely get this over 700k, even maybe over a million, but we'll see. I don't know yet if I'm ever going to do that. Now yeah, this was my account, second account. Tell me what you liked in this review / showcase. You can ask any questions you want. Maybe there's something you want to share about your experience in the game. In any case, this was Zaiha. Have a nice day. Bye.